morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Rush Racing League. This time we're taking on the desert streets of Saudi Arabia yet again here. This time it is Division 5, ready to give it a go. This is a track where dirty air is going to be your biggest enemy, and the walls just not too far behind. Narrow track, very few overtaking opportunities, and 27 corners are ready to meet our drivers here tonight. My name is Patrick Coleman, aka Rekus, and I'll be one of your hosts and commentators for tonight's Grand Prix action. And alongside me is the man, you know him, you love him. It's our main man, Muzz. How you doing tonight, mate?
I'm good. I'm excited to see how these drivers attack. This track that can be pretty punishing if you get it wrong, and like you said, with the dirty air and the walls, pretty close, and side by side racing can be good to watch, but it could mean a wall is not that far away.
Exactly that. And I mean, we've seen that this track can breed a little bit of chaos just as just the nature of this circuit. Tight walls, very tricky corners, the skate curb as I like to call it, the one curb right on the exit of I believe it's turn 7, where you touch that curb and all of a sudden you're just straight lining it. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and make our way trackside here in just a moment. Qualifying is underway at the moment. And yeah, so here we go. To trackside we go. And it is a full grid here tonight, just after silly season. And I already see a lot of people in the chat going for Soup and McLaren seems to be they seem to be the most popular picks here tonight. So but here's the interesting thing is that we don't exactly know the pecking order coming into this one. TMT Legend is obviously a driver that we got to keep an eye on. The Saubers are in an interesting spot when it comes to the overalls and such. Because right now they are currently in 4th position, but it is pretty close. Just a little over 100 points separates the top 4 here. So, and even the top 3 are separated by a little over 100 points. As we get going here, we're going to run through our grid here tonight. It is Soup for Duck, Kojak, Connor, Uncle Morty, Kungbus, The Risen, Roll Me One Kenobi, Milano, Shining Swarm, Mr. Panda, Surakin, Kaus, TNT Legend, Woofa, Chevy Wolves, Dwight, VSC, Paul and Hell, Vroms, and Dilby aka Dur, rounding out our 20 car field here tonight. So, any wild predictions on your end, Muzz, about how tonight's going to go?
No, I'm completely clueless. Obviously, we have the Sabers, like you mentioned earlier, and TMT Legend is the championship leader as well. So we'll see if this is one of his better tracks. But no, I've got absolutely no idea what's going to be going on because there's been quite a few moves going on, and this is a track that can punish people all the way until the very last lap. So we're not going to have a winner until they cross the line.
Sorokin has retired, and I believe that is due to a quali ban that he has to serve. So Williams already going to be kind of starting on a bit of a back foot. Yeah, and actually, you're talking about the championship table a bit earlier on, and we can actually think about the Constructors' Championship as well. Sauber is currently second place by about 22 points is the gap, and just an additional 9 points behind them. Actually, about additional 39 points behind them is Royal Mercedes is at the moment. So it could be interesting to see how this shakes up. Alpine right now leading the constructors with 208 points. Kick Sauber with 186, and I think actually my math was right. I think it's 31 points in between with 155 to Mercedes. But this midfield here, as Kung Bus jumps to the top, and as well as Chevy Wolves now jumping to the top of the Dodgers on 129.5. Alpines are in a pretty good spot with Soup and Uncle Morty. Crojack and Connor is also a really strong pairing as well, but McLaren, Racing Bulls, Haas, and Ferrari are all pretty much 1 point from each other, but that's right at the bottom of the grid, so we could see some fights all throughout the field here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the first race back from the break as well, so maybe a little bit of rust. So this is a tough track to come straight back onto after the break. So we'll see who can get punished, because we've talked about it a lot already, but this is a very punishing track, and especially to come out of the break onto this track, it'll be very challenging. So we'll see how much practice that they've been able to put in, and where they can put it. See if we've got people improving, some people not getting as much practice, and you'll probably see that pretty early on. But we got Super Duck is the current leader on the times.
So one thing I do want to note, and so Crojack's night is already not off to the best of starts. I tuned in on him, and actually Connor was disconnected. Um, and oh, 5 plays grid penalty for a collision. So that is not ideal in the slightest. That was on Dilby onto Pollen. And I know Connor was actually missing his front wing entirely, so it's been a bit of a rough night there for the Mercedes man. And you said that this is definitely one of the hardest tracks to jump back into after a 1 week break, but for some drivers it's apparently just a tad harder than others. This track definitely does not respect anybody really. The walls are super tight, and it's a very fast and flowy track. It's oddly like Suzuka, like a higher speed Suzuka with walls that are extremely close. So, I mean, this could be a really, really difficult track tonight to see. I think this might even just come down to a race of attrition, just who can survive not putting it in the wall. Super Duck looking really strong here with the Alpine team. Alpine in general look pretty strong. Sauber not looking as strong as initially thought, but also banker laps. So good chance that they will definitely jump up the order. I definitely do not think that they are 5 seconds off of the pace, because that would be pretty rough for them if they were. So still very early on in the qualifying session.
Yeah, absolutely. And another problem with this track is that there's quite a lot of like blind corners and pretty tricky braking zones to get right, because of how high speed this track is. You're not on the brakes for that much of the lap, and some corners, if you just brake slightly late, it can send you wide, and because the walls are so close, you can drift right into a wall, break your front wing, whatever it is. But those blind corners, they'll get you as well. Most notable one I can think of, that kind of final corner before the final straight. I don't know what number it is, because there's so many corners around here. But that is the one that comes to mind when I think about blind corners and just tricky corners in general to get right.
Yeah, this track is. I mean, I love this track, but this game has definitely taught me that you can love a track but still be pretty buns at it, and that is my case when it comes to this track. It's a fun track to drive, but yeah, you said yourself, it's so difficult. Especially like trying to hook up a good lap around here is tricky enough in the clear air, and then also dirty air is such a lethal thing that you got to deal with around the circuit, especially through Sector 1. You do have that really notorious curb that's been an issue since F122, where if you ride that curb, it just basically forces your car to go straight no matter how much you're turning, and that's almost a one-way ticket to a lap invalidation. So we're watching Izzy as Izzy completes their final lap of this current stint, but then they're going to actually come into the pit, so they'll go ahead, swap out to a new set of tires probably, and begin a new one. Quite a few drivers still on outlaps here at the moment as we run aboard with Wufa, who is improving pretty handsomely there. About 0.3 of a second up just in the first sector alone. So it's still pretty early stages, and the track is going to get quicker as it gets more rubbered in here. But, oh, and a big spin for Wufa, and he is just gave it a bit too much gas in sector 2, and he is knocked off an end plate, so that is definitely not going to be an improvement there from the Aston Martin. But yeah, overall, what are your thoughts on this track, Muzz? Because, like I said earlier, I like this track, but it's definitely not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Me personally as a driver, I enjoy this track. I enjoy kind of flow because if you can get it right, it's just absolutely just feels really nice to get it right. And but obviously it is quite hard to get it right because of all the blind corners and all of the stuff that we've mentioned so far. Me personally, I do enjoy it, but then I'll make one mistake and I'll be in the wall and then I'll hate it. So I love to hate it, but then I also hate to love it as well. So it's a bit tricky, like we mentioned. But Shining Swarm is on a lap right now. He is coming through the final corner. I think he hit the wall there on the exit of the final turn. What's it going to be for him? It's going to be a 133 P11 for him. So that is pretty solid.
Pretty solid indeed. And we panned him right as he did have a little bit of that wall tap there. So Krojag is now making his way, coming up to the final corner. Gonna round the hairpin and push with everything he's got to the line. We'll see if he can go ahead and make Mercedes proud. And up into P6 on a banker lap. That is pretty solid stuff there from Krojag. And he is currently 1.2 seconds off, and he just couldn't get the car stopped in time, and he is nose planted the wall. Oh. I mean, he's not parked in a dangerous location, so he shouldn't get hit with that DSQ that can happen. So, I mean, I have seen that before as we have lost Durr, who is currently in P4 at the moment. So Red Bull also looking pretty strong here tonight. McLaren's got a pretty strong driver in the white up in the top. Kenobi still, I think, on a bit of a make 11. Kind of conga line are we witnessing here with Chevy and I believe that might be Chevy and Vroms. Chevy is come to a crawl here, and as he's hugging the inside, maybe trying to save up for a lap. I think that might have been the case there. We'll jump on board with Kaus as he is going to go ahead and make his way through Sector 3 into Williams. Super Duck retaking the lead. Or actually, I think he's extended that lead that he previously had with a 1:28.301 for the Alpine driver. A driver who, according to the Twitch chat, has been heavily favored to win this one here tonight. And so far, the quality performance has proven to kind of back up those claims that the Twitch chat is making at the moment. Let's see how the Williams driver does. Kaus is currently P7, and his teammates is currently with the quality band. So it'll be an interesting one for Williams as Izzy actually jumps to the top of times with a 1:28.192. So Haas looking pretty strong here too as well. At least one half of the garage. The other half still needs a more representative lap because I've seen Shining race before, and we know that he's not 2.2 seconds off of his teammate here in Div 5. So I think as the track is getting more rubbered in, it is about I mean, there's about like 5 minutes left in this quality session before we jump straight to racing. So it'll be interesting to see how this one wraps up here. But Izzy on pole position, not exactly something I was expecting, but that is honestly a bit of a pleasant surprise. We love when things get a little switched up here and there.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say before that only like the top 5 drivers were in the second of Suit for Duck. That Izzy coming in, beating them out by 1 second. So now the top 5 all within 1 second, and everyone else outside a second behind. So really a tale of these top two just being insanely fast in their quality laps, and then the other rest of the field just really close, like they should be.
As we do see Paulin taking some very interesting lines through the Jeddah Corniche circuit. And yeah, it's in this track it can be a bit difficult to overtake really. You get like I think 2 or 3 really good overtaking spots here on the track. Definitely hard, not a lot through sector 1. You can make some moves, but they are super duper risky. And that is going to be, I mean, we might see some drivers trying to make some overtakes in some of these really risky positions. So, I mean, it is definitely possible, but we'll just have to see. And getting that quali lap is a very crucial line here because it does set you up pretty nicely as a lot of drivers are getting ready for what I like to call rush hour, which means pretty much everybody's going to come out in a mad dash in the final minutes to try to maximize their quality results because the track is going to be the most rubbered in and it's going to have the most amount of grip, as Vroms is actually retired from the session about 4.2 seconds off the pace. So we'll see, as it looks like it's going to be a bit of a side-by-side. Shining letting the Aston Martin through of Woofa, and we'll see how Woofa does come across the line. It is an improvement, but not by much here to the line for Woofa, and it is by 0.3 of a second up in the 13th.
Yeah, he just just ran out of the battery deploy at the end of the lap there, so maybe could have improved by a little bit more if they were able to hold on to it. But yeah, it's going to be hard for people to find space now at the end of this session with the rush hour, like you were saying. There's a bit like the highway and in the end of school traffic, all that kind of stuff. There is a lot of cars on the track, and they're all looking to improve. So the sessions the session times will go up and go down as people improve, and some people won't improve. But that's just how it is going to happen.
Exactly that, and now we do see a lot of drivers on outlaps here at the moment. Shining Swarm is continuing on his lap here, making his way through Sector 3. And one driver I'm definitely going to be really keen to kind of look at is going to be TMT Legend, and we'll jump on board with him once he starts his lap, which actually should be really, really soon. So we're going to jump on board. He is going to go ahead and begin his lap. We're going to wait for Shining to go ahead and see what his time is going to be. And it is improved by 0.6 of a second. And now puts him up in the 13th. Now taking a look at the current championship leader as he makes his way through Sector 1. Getting all the curb usage. Right here is the curb you don't want to overuse. Right there through turn 7 and 8. Because that can really mess you up. And actually I just witnessed, I think that's Izzy. Izzy has bent it into the wall. Right at the edge, I saw that the Haas was not facing the right direction, and it is missing a tire. So I wonder if Izzy can still get pole position even though that car is in a million pieces. That was a bit of a jump scare there. TMT is going to continue making his way through Sector 2, coming up to the split about 1.3 seconds quicker. So this won't be a pole time unless he can really maximize this final sector, which it is mostly just full speed from here on out. He's going to make his way down to turn number 27. Hard on the brakes. He's going to go through. And now he's going to burn every last bit of the battery that he's got left. Coming to the line. It is going to be P3 for the championship leader at the moment. What about Dwight? Can he go ahead and challenge? He's not improving, but he did have to get out of the way for a Haas that was making his way back into the pits. That might have been a bit of impeding. And no improvement there from Dwight. Cows, I think, does improve ever so slightly. And then we have... And I think that's actually it for qualifying. Yeah, so Izzy is your pole sitter here in Saudi Arabia. That's a new one. But hey, it's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. It was looking like it was going to be soup for duck basically the entire time. But Izzy comes through and gets them by a tenth.
As we run through our qualifying order, it is Izzy and Soup P1, P2, and then it is TMT P3, followed by Uncle Morty, Kaus, Dwight, Crowjack, Panda, Chevy Wolves, Dilby, Milano, Paulin, Risen, Shining Swarm, Woofa, Roman 1 Kenobi, Bus, Vroms, Connor, and Sirakin, with the latter two not setting a lap time, and with Dilby having to serve a 5-place grid penalty. So that's going to be a unfortunate one, to say the least. But I'm sure there will be some discussions about the Haas pretty much fully impeding MPJ there right at the end of the session. So, I mean, it's still a lot to play for here. We are back from the silly season break, and we're ready to take on the streets of Saudi Arabia here in Div5, but the question is, are the drivers ready? Because if one driver gets caught napping, then it's gonna be a very early end to their race. Let's just say that, because like we have both stressed time and time again, this track takes no prisoners and really could not give a crap about your feelings.
Yeah, exactly that. And unfortunately, we won't get a real race here in real F1. It has been cancelled due to some situations going on over there, which is unfortunate. So this is the best we got.
Yeah, our thoughts and prayers to everyone who is affected out in that region, and hopefully things do clear up over there, as the stuff going on over there is always a horrible thing, not deserved for anyone. But like you said, this is going to be the next best thing to Formula One, not actually racing here. But here we go. We got Rush Racing here. And it is lights out and away we go here in Saudi Arabia. And that's a good launch there for Izzy. Uncle Morty jumping his teammate, and there's a little bit of a car park here. Sirakin still trying to get shuffled through. I think we've got through turn 1 pretty cleanly. As these drivers going to go and continue to push on with everything they got. Oh, bit of contact there for the Risen and Vroms. Getting into a little bit of a shoving match there. Kungbus is going to continue to try to follow behind Connor. Good amount of positions being shuffled around here. And it's going to be... Whoa! That's a holy set there from Cows. Whew. That Williams... I mean, given what's going on in the Middle East, it feels wrong to say this, but the truth is Kaus just fired in there like a missile and almost took out Uncle Morty. But that does put Dwight into P2 at the moment, so very, very chaotic start to this one. Majority of the field running medium tires. Connor and Sirakin, the only ones running the hards, as we get through a very, very juicy lap 1. And that is, I believe, Chevy Wolves getting very, very wide there as we continue on. Wow, this has been a heck of a lap 1, and we still got 24 more of these laps.
Yeah, absolutely. There's fights going on all up and down the field, and got got Dilby into the
Oh!
wall, big crash at the back of the pack, and that's a safety car. That's definitely a safety car.
Yeah, we kind of called that one as it happened. Just a bit of a pileup.
Yeah, that was Dilby and the Ryzen, I believe, crashing there and trying to go side by side on the exit. No, I don't think quite enough room was given to. I think it was Dilby who was on the outside, and that it just caused the what we see all the time that they now can't turn. Oh, and a 10-second penalty
Oh, what is
for
happening
Romy
here?
One Kenobi. Oh, and there's a massive gap. I don't know what's happened here.
Yeah, it's like kind of just parked it. Like it was a weird one too, because just a bunch of these cars were just kind of parked all together there, and it might have been actually what ended up giving Romy One Kenobi a pen. So yeah, I mean, a very weird start to Saudi Arabia, but even just looking back to last season when we did this track as a 100% race for the season opener, this track has always bred some chaos. And oh, actually, that was on VSC, so that is.
Oh Jesus, VSC? Are we serious?
Yeah, I feel like that should have been a full safety car because I mean, look at this chasm of a gap between Roby One Kenobi and Chevy. And one McLaren is gonna have a move done onto him. He's gonna try to fight it back, but Dwight is gonna hold on to that position from Super Duck. Soup is now just right on the rear wing of the McLaren. And the Alpine is going to try to send it straight on through. You got DY holding it, and the inside becomes the outside, and that is a masterful car placement there from the McLaren. He is going to hold on to that position. But these guys keep fighting, then Izzy is just going to continue to run away with this one. And once you lose that DRS here in Saudi Arabia, it can be so difficult to catch it back. As we see, ooh, I think a bit of a walt out there for Dwight. That front right tire might have just gently smooched the inside of that wall. As TMT is going to try to close in the gap. Wasn't the greatest start for the Sauber. He'll definitely want to get some good points here and a good result. Especially because, you know, it's St. Patrick's Day in a good amount of the world. And he's driving a green car. You know, you got to do good in a green car on St. Patrick's Day.
Absolutely. But he's good thing for him is that he's in this front pack that goes down to Chevy Wolves. So he, as of right now, you know, he's only going to be able to drop down to P8 because of that massive gap back to the McLaren. So we'll see if he can stay in there. But the Super Duck with DRS flying by D White and will now look to hunt down Izzy, who was just hoping to just clear off down the road and not able to do that. And fastest lap sliding down all the way to Uncle Morty. So we'll see Uncle Morty trying to look for an overtake on D White as well to get back behind his teammate. But we'll see what happens with Super Duck and if they can try and get past Izzy as soon as possible.
That is certainly going to be the aim, but now they're pretty much at the part of the track where the dirty air is going to really just kind of bite him in the knee. And it is a tough one here to really try to navigate, especially through this particular sector. It's so easy to go wide and start building up those track limit warnings. We haven't seen a track limit violation yet. Oh, never mind. I'm just going to shut up because Milano just got a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. And you could have not timed that practically any better. But first of probably quite a few that we'll see here tonight. Not a knock against Div5 because Div5 it's a good learning experience for a lot of these guys as well. But it's also Jeddah. And Jeddah has a bunch of spots where you can get slammed for track limits. Super Duck makes a move into the lead of the race here. And Soup is going to try to run away here. Soup qualified P2. Just behind Izzy. And Izzy actually did have a pretty solid opening stage of the race here. But It is still. Oh, but actually, is he going to retake that position? Gonna have to try to stick it around the outside. Oh, that's gonna be close between the two, and it's gonna be a drag race. And Izzy is actually gonna win that one out. Smart on suit for backing down out of that particular battle, because you can fight on a good amount of this track, but that corner is certainly one spot you do not want to be side by side with someone going through.
No, absolutely not. We've seen it way too many times in all sim racing that you can easily rip off your front wing there and even rip off a tyre and just end your race completely with just one simple mistake. But Super Duck is not letting Izzy clear off here. He is going to be right up behind Izzy, so we are far away from the end of this battle, I would say, because we saw Izzy take the lead back into turn 1 and into turn 2 and turn 3, but Super Duck all over the back of the Haas. So we'll see what happens in this battle, and we got the McLaren D5 just sticking it in the background, and here we go side by side with these two. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Super Duck has the inside line, has got the nose ahead and the full car ahead by the exit, but we'll see if Izzy can fight this one down into turn 1, wreckers.
Exactly that, and it's not over till it's over, but it was a very clean pass from Soup, exactly what he needed. And he'll be able to hold on to that position for this lap, and he is back into the top position. Back on that top 7 of the podium. D White is looking still pretty punchy though. He can maybe try to be a factor in this race here too. It's still open season. It's only lap 6 out of 25. Still a very much open season for these drivers here. But the question is, when are we going to start seeing these drivers make these pit stops? Because tire deg is going to be a factor, especially because dirty air is so difficult to navigate on this track. As Kaos is going to try to improve a little bit here. Kaos is trying to close down to the other Alpine of Uncle Morty, who himself is trying to chase down Crowjag. And actually Connor, we'll take a look at the positions gained. Connor is up 8 positions from where he started, because he started pretty much right there at the back. He was one of the drivers who didn't set a lap time. So Connor really making some good moves here for the Mercedes team, as Kaos is going to try to use his Mercedes powertrain to try to jump it up a bit, as Izzy is going to still try to hold on here side by side between Izzy and Dwight, and might be a done deal for the McLaren. We will see, using the slipstream, using the draft, and in the end, he actually might lose a position to TMT. TMT trying to go brave on the inside, but he gives a lot of space to the McLaren, and Dwight will keep that position, but TMT definitely looking punchy at this stage of the race.
Yeah, he is. He has been just waiting in the background and pouncing on any opportunities coming his way. But we were just talking about Uncle Morty and Chaos, that fight there, and I must have completely missed it, but must have been a few laps to go. Uncle Morty must have made a mistake, because remember, he was right on the back of Super Duck and D White and Izzy and those guys, so must have made some mistake that made him drop there, and now fighting with Chaos to stay in there. So maybe tyres already coming into play, and maybe not able to hold on to his tyres as much as he would hope to.
Even on tracks that aren't exactly like super tire abrasive, like your Barcelona or your Qatar or even Miami to an extent, dirty air will absolutely shred your tires like cheese. That is just the basis of it. And ooh, we have a yellow in sector 2 that seemingly got cleared up pretty quickly. Might have been, I don't even know who it was. I don't know who could have even been, because there's a few drivers it could have been, but the important thing is that we are still going green here, full green, but I am sure that there's going to be some kind of discussion about that VSC coming into play and really just parting this field right down the middle, as we did lose the Sauber of Kungabus, but no need to re-invite them as they were taken out in the incident that actually caused the VSC in the first place. So it is unfortunate. It's the first time I've actually ever seen that driver. So hopefully they'll come back next week. If Brahms is out, he is retired in the pit lane. So no drama there. It's all good. But Super Duck is flying right now. Currently 2.5 seconds ahead of Izzy, who is still trying to fight with Dwight to try to keep that P2 position. So Super Duck looking very strong here as we are about getting closer and closer to about a third race distance.
Yeah, exactly, and that was the money maker if you were a betting man and going into this race. Apparently, that's what their Twitch chat was saying. That Super Duck was going to be the man to beat. So, and after that one recontest from Izzy, he has just been soaring through and flying. But there's a bit of battle for P4, Projag and TMT behind D White. They were side by side, I think, through the final corner. So maybe a bit of a debate for a position going on there, with Uncle Morty looking to try and get those spots back in the background as well. But there's a bit of a train from D White and P3 all the way down to Chevy. So, and TNT has gone wide. So he has lost a whole bunch of spots and might even lose out to Chevy as well. I think Chevy's lost his end plate, might have run into the back of TNT there, but TNT gets back past the Williams of Chaos. So a little bit of drama happening there, Records.
Yeah, exactly that, and it does look like you're right. Chevy Wolves did lose an end plate there, and you do you don't want to lose an end plate at any track, but some tracks you can kind of get away with missing an end plate more than others. This track, you do not want to lose an end plate. They are so crucial on this track. And yeah, I think we're going to start to see Chevy Wolves suffering quite a bit because he knocked off one of those end plates on the front wing. Uncle Morty did get a track limit violation, I believe, a bit earlier on, so that's unfortunate there for the Alpine. One Alpine is absolutely thriving, the other one is trying, but it's definitely not going fully to plan now, as coming into the pits is Uncle Morty. He's probably going to jump onto a set of hards to try to get to the end of this one. Kojak now under a bit of pressure from Dwight. As a bit further back, we look on to Sorokin, who is just absolutely... Oh, actually, never mind. That's because there's a good amount of drivers in the pits. So Sorokin's now up in the P8. He did start on the hard tires, one of the two drivers that started on the hard tire. So he'll be able to probably go to about lap 15, and then he'll probably switch to the mediums. It's probably going to be the strategy call for these guys, as we are a little under halfway through this one. Sorokin making up the most ground out of anybody at the moment. Aside from Connor. I think Connor made up a bit more ground. Right in the background though, Dilby and Uncle Morty are going to go to fight it out. Uncle Morty trying to hang it around the outside of the hairpin. And he does so very, very nicely. He'll hold on to that P9. But Dilby is still pretty much hot on his heels, so this battle might not be over yet. Dilby is still trying to chase down here. He'll get DRS coming through the rest of Sector 2 just before he begins Sector number 3. And he'll have DRS again, but not by much. Our front runners though, Soup and Izzy, making a pit stop now, so Soup is going to jump onto the hard tires to go to the end of this one. And he was held up for some reason. I'm not sure why he was held up in the pits there for a little bit, but he was held up in the pits for a short while. And I think Izzy's actually just right behind him as the camera tries to follow. And there we go. Yeah, actually, Izzy came out right behind Connor. So he's got to clear Connor pretty quickly if he wants to try to continue to push for a potential race win here.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Super Duck is the one that they were challenging, and Super Duck is ahead of Connor by about 2.5 seconds. So he needs to get this one done as soon as possible. Does have the 10 lap newer tyres, but they won't probably be warmed up just yet. So this may take the rest of this lap to at least get past, which is not ideal. But a bit of offset in strategies here. I was surprised that Super Duck didn't extend a little bit longer to build out a bigger offset in the tyres to the cars behind, but just going for the 1 lap overcut. So we'll see how that works for him. And Izzy is definitely fighting. Even tried to get up the inside of that previous braking zone, and we'll see what happens between here and turn 1.
It is going to be a very interesting battle here as we do see him go side by side coming down the main straight with Izzy and Connor. Izzy's got the DRS. Connor does not. That is a easy move. Uncle Morty is now being promoted up to P4 as Dwight and Kaus make their way into the pits as TMT is still trying to chase down to try to do damage limitation. And oh, we have a VSC again because Izzy has actually lost it.
Izzy's in the wall.
Oh, that's the same spot where Izzy, I think, lost it in qualifying right at the end of quali earlier. And
Yeah, I think that was the inside wall that we see. I
oh,
think it's turn
Krojag.
4.
Krojag has
Oh,
actually been tagged for a 10-second penalty for a severe collision. And there is evidence that front wing is non-existent. So, when Uncle Morty has left the session, good time to. I mean, hey, if you're gonna have a disconnect under a safety car, is probably the best time to do it, because you'll jump back in and you'll really have not lost any time.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, well, because you see Krojak is on new tyres, so I think that was Krojak coming out of the pits and side by side with Izzy, and then just the situation of that you can't go side by side into turn 4, and Izzy obviously coming out worst in that particular battle and having a DNF. Obviously not ideal for Krojak either. Is going to have to pit for a new front wing. But yeah, Izzy was fighting for this win, but they will no longer be doing that.
Yeah, kind of hard to travel when you have a dislocated wheel. I mean, you can, although I would be. Well, first off, I would be questioning a lot of things if you managed to win with only 3 wheels. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, Izzy was actually having a really good race though. It was actually a bit of a surprise, really, because Izzy is pretty new in terms of rush. I think Izzy officially became a full-time driver right around Singapore about 4 rounds ago, if my memory serves me correct. But that's still really, I mean, tonight was actually a really good showing for the most part. So it's unfortunate that it ended that way, but I mean, somebody was gonna end up with a tire missing. It's Jeddah, kind of like par for the course around here.
Yeah, absolutely, and we see it all the time. Obviously, that turn 4 is deadly, and that showed there that we it was going to be pretty hard for it to not catch someone out this entire race, and it's just been sitting there, obviously very still, waiting to catch someone out, and it finally catches out the house driver of Izzy. So see what Shining can do in reaction to their teammate DNFing.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do, and we'll see how he can try to make up points for this Haas team that could quite honestly really use the points. I think if Izzy was even able to grab a podium tonight, that would have been huge, huge points for that team, for the American outfit. It would have been huge because they are currently right towards the bottom in the constructors here in Div 5. So it could have easily been some massive points gained, but unfortunately we just won't know. But it does bunch this field back up. So the events from the VSC earlier where everybody got kind of like split up into two separate like field trip groups basically. We won't be seeing that again because now everybody is going to be perfectly bunched up. Sometimes we'll get a better launch than others, but it won't be that massive chasm between like P8 and P9 like it was earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so and then because it's no VSC, it's quite harder to get those 10-second penalties like we saw with Romy One Kenobi before, because it's a bit it's a bit better managed in terms of the safety car. So obviously you have the delta, but once you're behind the safety car, it's just staying behind the safety car. So it's a bit easier to not get penalties in that way. But and Alpine won too. So this is exactly what Alpine is looking for. It couldn't get any better than this current situation. And with one of the main race winning contenders, Izzy, being out of the race, we'll see what they can do with it. But they do have the championship leader of TMT behind, so see if they can hold on to it.
Yeah, that is going to be the question here, isn't it? It's going to be a tough battle between these guys here as we are approaching less than 10 laps to go. It feels like this race really just flew on by there, but it'll be interesting to kind of see if, like you said, like if Alpine can hold off TMT, because we know TMT can be very punchy. We know he can make some pretty good moves in the opening parts of a restart. And we have lost Muzz, I believe, or at least lost him from the session. I don't know if I lost him here in the booth. I think I still have him in the booth, but okay, we're not going back this lap, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to re-invite him if I can. So we're gonna take a quick little thing, and just go ahead and try to invite him back real quick. And who is the other driver? Was it Morty was the other driver, I think, who needed an invite?
Yeah, they're back in. I got them back in, don't worry.
Alright, so I'll just gonna take care of that in the meantime. But when we do get back racing, it'll be at most 10 laps to go, so it could still be a very spicy race to the end indeed. Turning up the heat here in the middle of the desert. As we continue on, it is current lap 15 out of 25. It'll be 10 to go after this one. Do you guys think Super Duck is the toughest driver? I don't think I've ever actually spoken to Soup outside of interviews, so I can't exactly answer that one for you. I mean, you got to be a tough cookie to do good around Jeddah, so at least you got that going for you. Kind of the interesting question. I can't say I've ever heard that one before, but we'll see how it goes. Soup is in a pretty good spot. It'll be tough to get past him, and I don't know if Uncle Morty is going to try to punch past his teammate, especially with that penalty kind of hanging over his head. And with Soup actually being P2 in the championship, with also Uncle Morty being P3, so maybe not. Safety car is going to come into this lap, and once we go back on, it'll be 10 laps of racing action remaining on the board, and then it is go time. So we'll see how this one goes. And Muzz, if you're back in the session, I'll let you take this one away.
I'm not quite back in. Sorry.
Alright, in that case, I'll take it away as Soup is going to lead us to green. And the loud pedal has been pressed. We are back racing here in Jeddah. You can't overtake until the start finish line, and we're already seeing some moves. Cows, Cows is knocked off an end plate there, running into the back of Dwight. Dwight and TMT scrapping it out for position. It's going to be good news for the Alpines. As TNT does come back through, Dwight is going to give it another go later on. Just jumping a bit through the field here. These guys are really going to give it everything they got to try to maximize the last 10 laps of this race. Chevy Wolves, 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit violations. As we are going to continue on, Cows and Dwight going ahead and swapping it around. I mean, it's impressive considering that Cows is missing an end plate, which is very critical on this circuit. Usually these kind of, well, pretty much any track really, the end plate is such a crucial element that you just absolutely need to have. But yeah, still getting that end plate damage is not ideal, to say the least.
No, absolutely not. And we see that also in real life in F1. Not much to go off so far in this season, but we do know from these regulations that have just been that you need all of your front wing ideally, and that translates over to here as well. So, and especially on a track like this where the dirty air is very important, and it can make or break your race. But we do have and they have already broken out of the DRS of the Kick Sauber of TNT, who is leading a bit of a train down to Connor in P7, Chevy goes a bit wide and Connor has gotten through as well, so Chevy not enjoying this restart.
Yeah, it's already been a tough day for the Red Bulls, so a bit of a rough one there, but once again, this track really just does not. It doesn't take kindly to any slip-ups here, as I know you've experienced around this track. So now it's going to be a bit of the team game between Soup and Uncle Morty. They're going to go ahead and just work together here. But Uncle Morty seems to be struggling a bit. It seems like he just hasn't been able to get those hard tires fired up yet. So he's really just sliding around quite a bit, but we'll see. We'll just kind of see. I mean, it's never over until it's over, and time travel has not been invented yet, so we can't jump into the future and see who wins this out. Besides, who would want spoilers? Like, that kind of ruins half the fun. But we're going to see Colin trying to think about a move. He's going to try to get one onto the white, and he will get it. Those medium tires are really kicking in. He's going to continue to chase down Cows. He's actually probably on the best tire out of this field at the moment. But there will be a point when that medium tire starts to fade, and the advantage will start to fade into the hands of those drivers running that hard tire compound. And right now, this is the closest battle up here at the front. Everybody else has been separated by quite a bit. So Connor now staring straight at the back, and he is going to go for it here. He's going to try to stay within. This isn't really a good spot to overtake. You can sometimes overtake going into the hairpin, but not ideal. You definitely don't want to try to overtake here, because 9 times out of 10 that's going to result in you at minimum losing an end plate, if not an entire tire. Entire tire. That was not intentional, chat, I promise. But we do see Cows trying to hold on here from Connor. Connor looking exceptionally punchy on this compound tire, but he's up 14 positions from where he started. Sorokin is up 10 positions from where he started, as Panda thinks about a move on the inside of the Red Bull of Chevy Wolves, as this train does still continue on. TMT now within DRS range of the Alpine, as Connor is gonna get the move done. Now it's 15 positions, as he does get the overtake done on Kaus. There is a yellow flag. No, never mind. That's just a UI bug. Never mind. Ignore that. But yeah, the restart has been pretty clean, and it's looking pretty punchy for most drivers in the field.
Yeah, it was interesting watching that battle from fourth, fifth, and sixth because originally it was Kaus and D White going side by side, and then Connor just decided to come out of nowhere and get involved himself. Another penalty coming in that this time for Romy One Kenobi. So we saw him get a 10-second penalty at the VSC earlier in the race. So but he has served that and now gets a 3-second penalty and is in P15. So he's going to want to try and get as far up the field as possible, like everyone else should be. But Kaus he might be under a bit of pressure here from D White because I don't think he got DRS on Connor. So all bets there's a battle for the second place here in TNT. The championship leader getting past Uncle Morty. Uncle Morty is going to have DRS now, though. Super Duck with the fastest lap of the race. Uncle Morty's going to try and fight this one back around the outside. No, not quite. The opportunity never really was a reality. But he is going to try and stay with it here. Because now paying 1-2 would be great.
Yeah, exactly that. And I mean, Alpine would extend their already advantageous position in the Constructors' Championship. And also, they would extend the overalls as well. So that'll be a really interesting one to say the least, especially just considering the overalls and how everything is looking right now. A 1-2 would be spectacular for Alpine at the moment, as there is a yellow in Sector 1 a little bit. I think that's just Rolling Kenobi running a bit wide there. Shining Swarm is running a bit wide as well, so it's not been a great race for the Haas driver either. So, Dwight now, oh, this is a bit of a three-way little kerfuffle here between Dwight, Kaus, and Chevy. Oh, this is a dicey spot to pick a battle at. Dwight does win it out at the moment, but whew, scary stuff here as now Chevy and Kaus going to try to go side by side. Oh, big crash there. That is Krojak and Panda coming to blows, and that is a heavily damaged Ferrari. How that didn't even bring out a VSC is beyond me.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no way that was going to end very well. I saw people bouncing off the wall on the exit of the second of that DRS straight down towards the final couple of corners, and then coming to blows, and even still fighting away. Pole and Hell went wide and is now slow and lost 2 spots to Panda and Dilby. So it's still all going on up and down the field, but that is not optimal for Panda. He was having a pretty solid race up there, wherever he was. I can't remember now, but he has got basically half a front wing, and with only 4 laps left, it's pretty dicey whether he pits or not.
Yeah, it's such a rough call because, I mean, obviously that wing damage is just going to slow you down even further, but you're also going to lose a lot of time in the pits. And with 5 laps to go, soon to be only 4 laps to go once Super Duck crosses the line, you don't really got a lot of time to try to fight back up for the position for the point, so you might just be better off you might be better off on the struggle bus versus just trying to make a pit and then go for it from there. But the White and Chevy Wolves are giving us quite the delight in showing us a very awesome battle here for our position. Chevy though does have the DRS. This move should be done and dusted pretty simply. Simply lovely for the Red Bull driver as he makes his way through into P5. We'll see if he can stay there. Uncle Morty, though, he's going to be an interesting figure for the rest of this one. He's going to try to punch and get closer to TMT, but Super Duck has pretty much just checked out. So barring any kind of mistake, Super Duck is in a really good spot to win this whole race. And I feel like if I give out a commentator's curse here for Soup, the Alpine fans are never gonna let me live it down. So Dwight currently still thinking about move on to Cotton. No, like Chevy Wolves, different name that begins with a C. Trying to go to fight for here. Ooh, I think Chevy goes a bit off. Dwight's gonna get the position anyway. But these are racing drivers. They want the position pretty much done on track instead of just through pens.
Yeah, absolutely. They're still going to fight it all the way to the end. I would say they won't getting through with DRS. We'll see if Sorokin, who started at the back, if he can get involved himself. But Chevy is going to fight this one back, in fact. And he has gotten back through, and he is going to try, because there is still a chance that he can just make that gap behind. If D White makes a mistake, he can still make a gap behind that makes him keep this position. So he's just going to try and fight this one back out for any potential loss from D White or Sorokin, because if Sorokin gets involved in a battle with D White, maybe they will lose time, allowing Chevy to hold on to that position. But still plenty of action to happen. Uncle Morty with a 3-second penalty, and with all the penalties going on, the order on your screen will not be the final finishing order. I am quite confident to say.
Yeah, but 3 laps to go. Quite a few penalties on the board. We'll take a look at those penalties here real quick. 6 seconds for Uncle Morty. As Dwight is going to go and send a move around the outside. In the spot, you don't even normally see moves. Actually, that's Chevy Wolves going back for the retake. So very, very good battles here between these two. These two have just been pure cinema to watch tonight, along with Sorokin now being well in the mix as well. Chevy does have the 3-second penalty hanging over his head, though, and so does Kaus, Panda, Milano, Kenobi, and Shining. So, quite a few drivers with penalties still here, but it's the penultimate lap of the race, and I'll let you take this one, Muzz, and I'll take the final.
Okay. We are going to stick with this battle for P5 with these 3 cars, and Dill be trying to fight his way back into the DRS of these 3 and having a fight with Kaus in the background. Chevy locks up and D White goes off the track. Sorokin gets through on him. D White making a mistake and losing that potential fight with Chevy. And Sorokin getting through, utilising that mistake. So we'll see if Dilby can close out even more, and just like we talked about with Chevy, he has a chance to possibly build out a gap or not, and rely on mistakes for other drivers, which we just saw from D White. So they're a bit more spaced out than they were last lap because of that, but it's still getting DRS. So they'll just try and close up, and Sorokin will want to try and see if he can get this overtake for P5 on the track, and also try and defend from D White behind. Chevy goes a little bit wide into that corner. See how much Sorokin can close up. And Super Duck has started the final lap of the race, so I'll give this one over to you, Rekus.
All right, thank you, Muzz. Sorokin does get the move done for P5, but can he hold on? Was he still behind at the detection point? The answer is no. Chevy's going to go to try to fight it back. He's going to make his way into turn 1, trying to hold on to that position. A bit of a brake lock up there, but he will hold on. He'll lose the position out still regardless, but Sorokin and Dwight are going to really fight it out for that position here, as we are on the final lap of this Saudi Arabian Grand Prix here in Div 5. And it is going to be Sorokin who's going to have a little bit of a wiggle there, but he's still holding on. And, ooh, that's a bit of a track cut there for Chevy to try to give himself a bit of breathing room. As actually a bit further back, Dilby has actually caught up to Dwight, so this might be a multi-stage battle here even yet. But this is looking really, really, really good for these drivers. Really, really spicy. But a driver who has not put a foot wrong the entire day. He was a favorite in chat. He missed on a pole by a tenth of a second, but he rectified that mistake pretty early on in the Grand Prix. And he's making his way to the finish line now with a massive margin. Super Duck wins the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix by almost 10 seconds to the championship leader of TMC Legend, who will make it across the line in P2. P3 will likely go to Connor after penalties are applied, and sure enough, it does. And Connor will definitely get driver of the day for that one. I would be very surprised. Otherwise, Sorokin does get P5, so the drivers who did not set a qualifying time actually made up a ton of positions. 16 and 15 positions for Sorokin and Connor. What a race for those two here tonight as the final drivers come across the line. But your winner is Super Duck in the Alpine.
Yeah, absolutely statement race for him. Didn't, like you said before, didn't put a foot wrong the whole race. Just got beaten out in qualifying, but wins the race, and Dilby got the overtake done on the driver that he needed to get the overtake done on, and gains on Chevy's penalty, so he finished P6 in the end. So good result for him.
And there is our podium celebration here and now. A very well-driven race for Super Duck. And that is absolute cinema here that we've saw in the desert as the champagne is going to go ahead and get sprayed around quite a bit. A very good race here indeed. And now we're going to go ahead and just take a look at our Superlativs here. Driver of the day does go to Connor, and cleanest driver goes to Sorokin. Fastest out to Kojak, and race winner obviously Soup for Duck. But now we're going to take a look at our finishing results here. It is going to be Soup for Duck ahead of TMT legend Connor, Uncle Morty, Sorokin, Dilby, Chevy Wolves, Dwight, Paul and Hell, Kaus, Risen, Mr. Panda, Romy One Kenobi, Milano, Krojag, Woofa, Shining Swarm, and then our retirees of Izzy Fizzy, Froms, and Kungbus rounding out the field. So now without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get ready for our interviews. But man, what a race we had just witnessed here, Muzz. It was absolute cinema from pretty much start to finish, really. Not really a dull moment in that race.
Yeah, exactly. And I know a lot of the time in some of these races, the kind of middle part of the race, it kind of gets a bit bland, but there was fighting the whole way through the race up and down the field in different parts at different times. So got to see probably everyone in the race in some sort of battle at some point. So that was absolutely thrilling to watch, and safety cars throwing spanner into the mix, and doing what they do best, and Super Duck, even with all of the challenges that came through, just a statement win for him.
Exactly that. So we're just going to wait and see if we get any of our interviewees into the booth. And it is going to be, this is going to be an interesting one, right? Because next week we got another 100% race, and it is going to be in Hungary next time out. So that's going to be a really interesting one for the drivers. Hungary is a fun track. It's probably my worst track on this game, to be honest. It's probably also the track I've driven the absolute least. But I'll be in the commentary booth and we'll be competing, even though it's apparently a surprisingly popular demand to see myself race. Maybe one of these nights I'll hear me all. But in the meantime, we are still waiting for our interviewees. We'll see if we get any of them. But if we don't, let's say if we don't get them 45 past, then we'll go ahead and just wrap up there. So, But yeah, what do you think of Hungary for next week here, Muzz?
It's going to be very tough. I know that there's a lot of people that do not enjoy Hungary, and for it to be a 100% race, it's going to be quite interesting to see if people can hold on. And it being a tough track as well, all the cornering, all of the tricky parts of it, and not many overtaking opportunities. So it's a rough one to do a 100% race at, but for the people who can get it right, will be massive points haul for them.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And we're gonna go ahead. We do have some of our interviewees in the booth, so I'm gonna go ahead and start it off with Connor. Connor, it was a rough qualifying for you, but man, did you more than make up for it in the race. How did you feel about your race? Because, I mean, you made up, I think it was like 16 positions by the end of the night.
Yeah, it was definitely a mad one. In qualifying, I got unlucky when I joined. For some reason, my settings weren't right, so I had to go back to the main menu. Then it retired me in the pit, so I never got to set a lap even. So we knew we had a tough race, but I'd love just, man, first of all, thank you to Nishka. Massive, massive thank you. Great job on engineering tonight. We knew we had to try something, so we start on the hards and see how far we could go. And then that safety car for me just came at the perfect timing.
Exactly that. Yeah, it was really fun watching both you and Sorokin basically just absolutely just charge through the field here tonight. Lots of good progress. Next week it is Hungary, a 100% race, the second one of the season. How do you think you're gonna do there?
I'm excited for it. I'm excited. I used to really like Hungary on all the older games when I was doing a lot more of this league racing. So looking forward to it, getting back into this rhythm of it now, and hopefully I can continue to repay the favour of the boys. So back-to-back P3s, back-to-back feels amazing.
All right, yeah, and it'll be an interesting one. It's another track where overtaking isn't exactly super easy, but it should be a fun one. Well, congratulations on the P3 and driver today, and we'll pass
Thank
you
you.
over to Muzz.
All right, Connor, absolutely great race from you to fight all the way from the back row to the podium. That's a bit of a Max Verstappen-esque race from you. Uh, did you? What was your goal with your setup? Did you want to just try and make sure that you could stay close even with all the dirty air, or was it just the setup that worked best for you, which was
No,
might have been
it's
slightly different?
just a setup. The boys, Nishka, myself, Brian, Winter, we've all just been working on it, trying to see where it works for me, and it's just been a really good. To be honest, I never expected to be in P3 tonight. I've been doing a fair bit of practice, but I've been absolutely utterly nowhere in race pace. So the race pace tonight just came out of nowhere. I think it's once I got into that rhythm and we were able to settle in, I think we were just away. And I just want to say thank you, first of all, to SJ for bringing me back into this, and my girlfriend for being all good with it, because I barely speak to her at night, but we're getting some P3, so it's been good.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, well, no more questions from me, but again, absolutely amazing job to fight all the way back through.
Thank you very much, boys. Thank you, and congratulations to both Soup and also TMT.
All right, without any further ado, we're gonna go ahead and talk with our race winner, Soup. Now, Soup, I guess you could say it was a super race for you here tonight. How do you feel about it?
Um, well, I feel really good. A win is always nice to have, especially since it's my first in a full normal race. I don't have many words, but I'm really happy about this. It was definitely a really good race tonight. I showed good pace the whole time. So yeah, unlucky that I crashed in quali though, but P2 still a good result, and then managed to get the win from it. So
Yeah, I mean, once Izzy had their unfortunate crash about, I think it was relatively early on in the race, but ever since then, you pretty much just checked out and you didn't really have to really hardly use your mirrors. You had a 10-second gap to the championship leader at the end of it. So, do you think you'll be able to keep up the momentum coming into Hungary next week? It is an oddly similar track in terms of overtaking and just how tricky riding in the dirty air can be.
I mean, well, I hope I can keep the momentum up, but Hungary, a pretty difficult track. The second sector, sometimes I mess that up quite a lot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I hope I can do well in the 10-second gap. Well, it was amazing to have because well, I had like a 2-second one for the safety car, so that was good for the pit stops, so just in case anyone boxed before me, and then the 10-second just made sure I can go nice and slow on the final lap, so no crashing, just bring it home.
All right. Well, once again, congratulations on your super victory, and I'll pass you over to Muzz if he's got any other questions or comments, or punts for that matter.
Thank you, Records. Thank you.
All right, amazing job. What a statement from you to win by about 10 seconds. My only question for you is, we saw Izzy obviously have that crash that brought our safety car. Did you think that Izzy was going to put up any fight and contest you for this win?
I mean, like, it really seems so from qualifying. They went 10th faster than me. Even though I did crash, they did retire as well. So it was really interesting to see. I feel like they could have put up a really good fight, especially since in turn one I dropped down the P4. But it was pretty unfortunate to see them crash. But then their safety car really did help my teammate Uncle Morty, who disconnected. But I feel like I could have had some good battle, good competition with them in the race, and it's just unfortunate to see that they crashed.
Yeah, absolutely. Could have been even more cinema than we already got, but yeah, absolutely great job with what you did, and hope you can continue the momentum to next week.
Thank you.
Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to go ahead and wrap things up here at Rush Racing League. That is Div5 in the books here for Saudi Arabia. It's been a fun night here tonight, a really good race. It had all the drama that you'd ever want out of a Formula One league race. And honestly, can't wait to do it all again in Hungary in about a week's time. But on behalf of everybody here, thank you guys so much for tuning on in to the action here in Div 5. And I'm looking forward to next week in Hungary. But before we go, Muzz, any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are that it'll be interesting to see in Hungary. With 100% races, I know that some people struggle to stay in the race for that long because sometimes it can get a little bit boring racing for that long. I know myself, I quite enjoy those longer races, and with how challenging of a track it is and how hard it is to overtake, it'll be interesting to see who can come out on top.
It is a massive endurance race, a test of man and machine, and I mean, you got to keep laser focus for about 90 minutes when you're doing those 100% races, so it is going to be a bit of a tricky one, but that's going to be for the drivers to tackle next week. But as of right now, it is round 8, Saudi Arabia in the books, and I want to give a massive thank you to all of our fantastic partners. Good old Sim Racing Center, SimLab, Pagani Advanced Simulation, AI369, and of course all of you guys in the Twitch chat being awesome as always. And on behalf of Muzz and the rest of Rush Racing League, my name is Patrick Coleman, aka Breakfast, and we have been your hosts and commentators for tonight's Grand Prix action out here in the desert. Stay hydrated, and we'll see you guys next time for 100% races in Hungary. Good night.